2023 at 6 p.m. So we are going to go ahead and go on to number 2, old business. Discussion of resolution 2023-16, authorizing a lease agreement between the city of Mapton and the Iglesia Hermanos de Gracia for the building located at 406 Washington Street. So I believe that the Yuli reached out to him. He said he's going to try to be here at 7 because he had a prior engagement, but they do want to continue with the contract.
Same as it is.
Yes. So I didn't know if you guys wanted to
Which is,
keep
I can't.
$850 is what the rent is right now. Okay, so if you guys want to continue with them leasing out the bank for.
So is that 1,000 like they talking before?
I
That was
thought
1,000.
I thought it was 1,000 as well.
Yeah.
Because that's what we had.
It's what the
that's
contract
we
said
discussed
before.
last time.
Mhm. So,
Yeah, it wasn't that.
and you know what? Let's look at the contract. It's in the,
Is it in here?
Yep. so I'm working slow today because I'm missing a hand. So, let me see. Yep, it is 1,000.
It's $1,000. right?
1,000. So if you all want to keep up on that for 1,000,
Now, did you say they had agreed for the 1,000?
yes.
Okay.
So that's if you guys want to go ahead and keep it like that, then we can.
Now they're paying their own water and light. and-
Mhm.
Okay, yeah, let's leave it like that, don't you think?
Right.
Mhm.
So this is just for discussion, we'll make the agreement. And he said he'll try to be here at 7, so, okay.
Okay.
So, alrighty, so we're gonna go ahead and go on to 3, new business. Discussion of resolution 2023-17 in the matter of adopting the 2023 Yakima County Solid and Moderate Risk Waste Management plan dated for April 2023. So,
Is that just a renewal too?
are you good with that? Yep. Okay, well,
No.
Yeah.
But,
So-
but I'm familiar with it somewhat.
Okay.
My understanding is that the Yakima County solid waste rates have gone up because of increased costs. So a lot of communities are changing their waste fees to reflect the percentage of increase that the county's now charging, because it costs you more.
What are
But
we looking at?
So-
What that cost? You don't have an
I don't know,
idea?
I'm here for the annexation part.
Oh,
Okay,
the
so-
I saw it, I was at Union Gap,
Okay.
last week and they were discussing.
so Bill, were you able to look through that binder that I took to your office a couple weeks ago? That's what that's regarding.
Yes, I did. I believe that's what Chief Garcia picked up and returned.
Okay, so, the binder, that's when you brought me the binder back. Yeah, so were you able to look it over and okay everything?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I believe in that place you could sign it. I'm pretty sure it did, but I signed it and I put a sticky note where you're supposed to sign it.
Okay.
But they say they need a resolution approving it, so.
Mm-hmm. So, was the cost much different? Did it say in there? I don't have the binder with me. Did they, because they picked up the binders already, correct? I don't have the binder with me, but, let me see if we have something. Yeah, we have to regardless. It's like,
Regardless.
okay. So then, we'll go ahead and go on to C, if nobody has any questions regarding,
What was B?
I mean B. If nobody has any questions regarding A, we can move on to B. Yeah. So,
And that's when we get an answer back on that?
they, someone may be here this evening. I think that they are. I think that's what Yuli told me when she called me earlier today. So,
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure.
It's just a
But-
matter of how much, Diana, but we still have to, we have to have it, so.
Mhm.
Okay, let's go ahead and agree then.
Well, we'll do that at 7 o'clock. So we'll go ahead and go on to B, discussion of the acceptance of Mario's petition for annexation of parcel number 230-806-24407. So this, I know it came up already at one meeting about the annexation for the homes. And Larry, is this Castellanos?
Yes.
Okay, so are you here Are you here for that one as well?
Yeah, I can
Okay,
I can fill the council in.
okay.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Council. Byron Gums, I work for Yakima Valley Conference of Governments. We do planning services for the city. And with this specific annexation, there was a hiccup in the processing. So annexations, to kind of give you a breakdown of the process, the first step is that a property owner that's adjacent to city limits will come to council and say that they're interested in being annexed into the incorporated city limits. If the council so desires to move forward with that, the property owner or property owners will then put together a petition. It's an initiative to start the annexation process. So the process is the same if it's one parcel or 100 parcels. And to give you a breakdown of the process, I'll use an example of if it's 100 lots of all equal value. What we're looking at is to start the annexation process, they need 10% of the people within that area for annexation to agree to start the annexation process. So if that was 100 parcels, 10 parcels would have to, or property owners would have to sign this petition. That petition then comes back in front of council, and council says, yes, we will move forward with this annexation. We'll require you to assume the city's indebtedness. So if you have bonds and things like that, they start becoming part owner of that debt that the city's paying off. So your city taxes and things like that. And then the simultaneous adoption of comprehensive plan and zoning regulations. So when you have a property coming into the city, you have to know what the zoning is going to be in order to make sure that the right permits are obtained, right uses are going in there, and so forth. And then from there, it goes back to those property owners, and they collect more signatures. And you need to have at least 60% of the area's assessed value be signed for. So in this example, it would be 60 lots out of that 100. You would need 60 signatures saying that they agree to be annexed into the city of Mapton. And then that comes back in front of city council again, and the city accepts that and then takes that and sends it to the Yakima County assessor. And the Yakima County assessor will look at all those signatures and say, yes, 60% or greater of this area worth of the assessed value want to be part of the city. And from there, there's more paperwork, and it goes to the Yakima County Boundary Review Board. They review it, they send notification to other government entities and agencies and so forth. And they have a 45-day period where they're soliciting comments. At the end of that 45-day period, it'll come back in front of council, and then you'll have an adopting ordinance saying, we've been through this process, we want this as part of our city, and you sign the ordinance. What's happened with the Castellanos property is they signed that first 10%, and then it kind of stopped there. The city said, yes, we want this in our community, but there was confusion because there's those 2 periods of time where you need the separate sets of signatures, and that second set of signatures was never submitted to the city. And that's what's in front of you tonight. So if you are still interested in moving forward with the annexation of this property, I believe it's around 5 acres. The intent is to subdivide it with 23 lots, I believe. And then single family homes, and then sell them for the community. But it's council's decision whether or not they want to move forward with this. If they do, you'll have a resolution or ordinance saying that you'd like to move forward with this. And then I'll work with Larry and Yuli on getting the petition to the Yakima County assessor. And then once we have that legal determination of sufficiency from the assessor is when it will go in front of the planning commission for the first hearing. So the planning commission will need to approve it, or well, they don't need to, but they recommend approval or denial. It's ultimately the city council's decision, but that hearing is the step after the assessor reviews everything.
I had a question, Byron. I think we've all talked about this before, about the new homes coming in. Are they gonna be going one by one like Sixth Street, or is it they're gonna go up pretty fast?
So,
And if they are they doing streets, sidewalks, and lawn? That's our
so,
concern.
right, so, that's going to be a separate process. So the first step is, does the city even want to entertain this being part of the city? And if it goes through this process and the answer is yes, they have to come back and apply for a subdivision, a plat. And through that subdivision process is where we would require street improvements, extension of water and sewer, sidewalks, any sort of interior road. If there's a desire for parks and open space, things of that nature, that would all be done through that subdivision process. So that's kind of the cart, the horse is it being in the city, because the property owner initially went to Yakima County to see if they could subdivide, because it is in your urban growth area, zoned, single-family residential. But in order to maximize the developability, it needs city water and city sewer. And Mapton's regulations are such where you cannot provide those services outside of your city limits. So Mr. Castellanos applied for the annexation, and we've been in that process since.
Do you know what these homes are gonna cost? Do you have any, you don't have any idea?
No, so the way that the subdivision would work is you're just creating vacant lots, and it would be up to the property owner, if they're a developer as well, they could build the homes and sell them, or they could just sell the bare land to somebody to build whatever they want. The homes would just have to meet whatever your requirements are in your ordinances. So there's no provision that it be a certain square footage or anything like that. So if I were to buy it and I wanted to put up a 800 square foot home, your code would allow for me to do that. If I wanted to buy it and put up a 4,000 square foot home, your code would allow me to do that as well. So it all depends on if the developer is doing it themselves, or if they're just gonna sell the property and maybe it's me and some buddies building it, or hiring Lexar Homes, or putting down a manufactured home. It really is unknown at this time.
So he's just doing the land, but he's gonna sell the land and the people that buy are gonna build homes? Is that what I understand? it?
Essentially, yeah. So the lots will be created and the lots will be sold. The unknown is if they're going to be building the homes themselves. So if Mr. Castellanos is a general contractor and he plans on building himself and selling the homes, that's an option that's available, or it could be their land, but it will be it's proposed to be in the preliminary plats I've seen 23 separate lots, if memory serves.
Any more questions?
Your question is, what is that location is?
If you look in your packet, towards the very back, there is a map, maybe 5-10 pages in. It's on High School Road, just past the old school.
One of one.
So it's
17.
next to the new developer that they do that side. So
17.
So
here's
here's so it's the hash mark. Here's the school property, and then here's your high school. It comes down south and then heads east-west.
yeah.
Golden Road.
So it's next to the new houses, I think.
I don't believe so. I think it's about a quarter mile away.
Quarter mile away from
New houses, around the corner.
Around the corner.
Go to the past the new houses, then you're gonna turn right. Then if you're gonna go straight, instead of turning left again, it's right there.
Oh,
Right
okay,
before Bill Rector's house,
okay,
to the west.
to the west, okay.
Next to the hayfield.
Yeah. So you have your old school surrounded by the big field. It's going to be right up next to that field
Okay.
on the east side of that property.
I don't have the package.
Yeah, it's the third page to the last.
You can have this one.
Oh. Yeah.
So if you do care to move forward with this, the tentative scheduling for the planning commission hearing for them is June 22nd. It was initially supposed to be this last Thursday, but we realized that the signature page was not the 60% signature page, it was the 10% signature page. And it's the process that we need to follow. We can't skip things around or invent things. So we needed to stop and make sure that the paperwork was all correct.
Do you have any more questions?
The only thing, if he's gonna sell just a lot, now was he gonna put the road sidewalk in before he sells the lot?
Yes, sir.
Or else he's gonna sell the lot and then expect the
So,
buyers to put it in?
so the way that subdivisions work is there's a preliminary plat and a final plat. And this subdivision process will be coming in front of council for the final approval as well. So you will have a say in some of the standards that you want achieved. So, for example, if you're wanting to make sure that everything's completed prior to him being able to sell lots, or there are provisions where you could bond for some of the improvements. So it'll all come in front of council, and the way that it works is you have your preliminary plat. So city council will say, yes, we approve these 23 lots. You're going to have to build the road. You're going to have to extend water. And you're going to have to extend sewer. Then the developer has a number of years in order to make those improvements. And then those improvements are certified. And then once those improvements have been certified, there's a final plat that comes back saying, here's our record that we've installed water and sewer according to city requirements. Here's our engineer's stamp saying that the roads are built up to the appropriate standard. Once all the conditions of approval have been met is when the final plat gets recorded, and that 5 acres turns into 23 individual parcel numbers. So there's a couple of steps along the way, and there are fail-safes to make sure that the improvements are in place prior to lots being sold and development started.
I have a question for you. So we can
Yes.
decide if we want the mobile home units on there or not before Castellano takes over? Because don't the mobile homes lose their value, not like a home?
Potentially. So the way that the law is manufactured homes are reviewed the exact same way as stick-built homes. Typically, there's a provision that if they're brand new or within a certain number of years. So I've seen where if they're within 5 years of today's date, they're reviewed like a stick-built home. Older than that, there may be a higher level of review to make sure that they're pit set and the tongues are removed and skirting's there and standards as far as roof slope. You can't place a mobile home that was constructed before, I think, 1976 anymore. It doesn't meet code requirements. They used aluminum wiring for electricity and things like that. So I believe, and I'd have to look at your code to make sure, but there isn't any way to prohibit manufactured homes from being on the lots.
You can if they're 10 years or older. We have an ordinance, they can't put.
Yeah, they can be
Yeah,
another,
they can.
Okay.
not older than 10 years.
I have one more question. Now, will they have like the brick fence like they do in Grandview on those new homes that they're all from one end to the other being, they have the brick?
That's something that could be determined by council. However, if it's in your code where a fence is optional, then it would be up to the developer if they wanted to do that. But there may be avenues to require some sort of fencing, but if your code isn't prescriptive to it, saying it has to be this certain way, then you typically can't say it has to be done a specific way. And the requirements would be what your code looks like at the time that his application's determined to be complete. So with the annexation process, say towards the end of the summer is when all that's complete, and Mr. Castellanos applies for the subdivision. Whatever your subdivision regulations are at the time of application, once his application is complete, he is vested to those. So say he applies and everything's complete December 31st, but on January 1st you have new regulations, all of those old regulations would apply to his development. So it's very specific to what your development standards are in your code.
Any more questions?
And then if you'd like, I know this is your study session, I could stick around for your council meeting if you would like, or if you would,
Is he gonna be attending
I
this?
do not know.
Okay,
I do not know. And I'm fine sticking around.
okay. All right,
Um,
if you would please, appreciate it. Thank
No
you.
problem. All right.
Thanks. Thank you.
Very welcome.
Now we will move on to C, discussion of city ordinance 12.04.010. So this is a city ordinance that we've been dealing with these last couple of weeks regarding people paving their driveways all the way to the city streets. And it's become an issue where they came in, they got a permit to do it. We wanted to make sure that the gentleman that was doing it, he had a license with the city. And he did, I believe, at that time, or I'm correct. So apparently what he did was he did a driveway for someone on Fifth Avenue, and he took it all the way to the street. And we're like, no.
No.
And he's like, well, I've done this before. Then you should know that you cannot take a full driveway from the house all the way to the street.
No.
So they went around the city of Mountain and they came back with addresses, I believe, and where it's been done. So it may have been done prior to all of us new, but it cannot be done. Because if we let one citizen do it, everybody's gonna do it.
Yeah.
You know, and if we do it that way, then we're gonna have to say, okay, you can do it, bring in your plan, and you'll have to be charged a yearly fee, because it's gonna become a mess out there if we keep it up like that. You know? And, you know, the gentleman, he got upset, and I'm like, well, if you've done this for years, you should have known. You
So
can't.
who was the contractor?
I don't remember, well, I do remember his name, but I don't wanna,
Say,
yeah.
So when they buy a permit or whatever they have to buy for that, it doesn't explain all that in anything to them, paperwork?
Well, yeah, he knew, but he went out to the street.
Okay.
So right now, we're dealing with the resident, and she wasn't upset about it. I think her neighbor was more upset about it, you know, but it's like, if you've done this kind of work, pavement, you should have known, or you should have come back in and, you know, and Ian did stop him twice, correct? Chief, on Fifth Avenue? When-
Yeah, I'm not sure if he did stop him twice or not, but
He told him to come into the city hall to get more information.
I
But
thought
by that time,
I thought the driveway itself doesn't need a permit for the concrete.
not the driveway, but he
Just
brought it all
past.
the way up to the street. So, yeah.
But you have, two people that I know of that they did about a month and a half did it to them. Huh?
A month and a half ago, they did it?
Yeah, they did.
Just
All the
recently?
way to the street?
Yes, they did.
So see, they didn't come in to get a permit, to my
That's-
knowledge.
That's the thing. And I drove around after I talked to that lady over there on Fifth. I drove around because, and in fact, I didn't have to drive around because I had seen them. About a month and a half ago, the two other families, they did their driveway clear up to the street. And I drove around again, and there's people that got bricks up to their edge of the asphalt. There's people that got gravel up to the edge of the asphalt. You got people that got rocks up to the edge of the pavement. Now, to me personally, I think it looks good because it keeps the weeds down and it looks the property better. I mean, if not, you take it out, you're gonna have that, the weeds and stuff growing out.
So I guess that's what we need to talk about, go over and see
The
if,
question is, they have sidewalks already done?
no,
No sidewalk.
no sidewalks.
That's why
But
maybe
they're
the
under
city
the
is saying,
understanding
we don't
that
have
if they have to dig,
the curb.
that to whatever, and on this side of town, the sewers are in the front, and the water's in the back, and this side of town, the sewers in the back, and the water's in the front. And they're under, understanding that if something has to be tore up, of course, they're gonna have to cut it to get to it.
Yeah.
But me personally, I think it looks
I don't want to.
better with the, all the way to the edge.
And,
Because then the city's gonna have to maintain that piece there, you're gonna have the weeds growing, because I don't think the people, they all aren't maintaining that now. But if you have them take it out,
well,
then the
I
city's
mean, we're
gonna
gonna,
have the,
We maintain ours with gravel,
Yeah, just the
just the gravel.
yeah.
Three of gravel.
three of us.
Yeah, so I guess that's kind of what we're, our thing, but Chief, you wanna have something?
Yeah, I also drove around, I don't know if that's my mic or not, but I drove around and there's probably,
Turn that speaker down. Thank you. Thank you.
there was probably 14 to 15 driveways. Some were asphalt, there was even a sidewalk from the front of the house, went all the way to the street. And there was like a couple of duplexes that had at least 4 of them per duplex. And it went all the way right to the street, asphalt, and then there's a few that were concrete. So the thing is, if we're gonna make one do it, we're gonna have to make everybody do it. So the question is, you know, is that something the city, I wanted to come to the city, that way the government can tell me, you know, city government can direct me which way to go with. If there needs to be an amendment, great. If not, you know, then I'm gonna continue with enforcing it. So right now, we just paused it until everybody here, you know, can give me direction.
I mean, I can see the gravel part,
Oh, yeah, because weeds, it does.
yeah, but I don't know, because like Judy said, that if the city has to go in there and tear that up,
They're gonna get mad.
yeah, they're gonna get upset, and they're gonna say, well,
Why did you tell me?
yeah, and we can't do that. For some reason, we have to get in there, right now, we're dealing with Sixth Street, with the resident, and they're not gonna like it that they're gonna be billed for getting a tree taken out because their tree's affecting now the neighbor, the roots, so, it's the same with that. And that neighbor, or the people on Fifth, they do have trees as well, and just gonna be a matter of time where it's gonna be a disaster, and
But,
we're gonna wanna get them, the city's gonna have to step in and remove them.
Well, yeah, because they're city property, those trees that you're talking about. They've been there since I was a kid. That those trees been there. They weren't planted by the city, or I don't know when they had planted them, but they've been there.
They're on the easement, on the city's easement.
Yeah.
So I guess we can get those removed, but the residents are not gonna like it because it's shade, but then once it starts backing up their
The sewage and all
their
that.
sewage, then it becomes an issue, and that,
Because they don't want to be responsible.
yeah, they'll like it for a while, but then it's gonna come back on us.
They're
as
gonna
city.
say we have to pay for it, not them.
So I guess,
Why, wouldn't it be better if you and the chief go around and look at those ones that we're talking about? I drove around, he drove around. Just look at them and see what you think. I mean, like I said, personally, I think that it looks better, it makes the street look better because of that.
So can we hold them responsible for it because they put it there? If they
Yeah,
don't
and I
do something
believe it.
happens,
and I believe it's not even straight, I think it kind of slopes down
Yeah,
a
they
little bit.
slope down.
So they're gonna have water and stuff in
And it's gonna be, it's gonna become an issue, so.
But then, yeah, then on the other hand, you're gonna, probably, if they're wise, have the city go in with a surveyor and survey that.
They have to survey the plot, the lot. If they don't have a
Well,
survey,
to
they
see where
cannot get it
the-
done, nothing.
Well, see where the, city easement's at.
Well, it's on city easement, right?
Yeah, how far it goes. Because some streets are 60 and some are 80. They're not all the same.
Is the same?
Some are 15 and some are 20.
Yeah, so that's something that we're really gonna need to, I'll drive around, Chief, I'll follow you, or, well, no, I can't follow you, but, yeah, we can go, we can look,
And
and,
maybe you guys can talk to the people.
yeah,
Yeah,
Just-
if everybody wants to, like, talk about this in 2 weeks, but
yeah, we can.
go take a look around, drive around every city street, and you're gonna see probably 15 to 16 of them. I just, like I said, I want to bring it to everybody's attention because I know code wasn't enforced for a while, so I'm gonna need direction on where you want me to go with this, because it can go 2 different ways, so everybody make a decision and tell me which way to go with it.
So I guess I wouldn't have a problem if everybody wanted to do gravel in front of their house. You know what I mean? Like, their driveway could be paved, and then the outside of the streetway gravel,
Be gravel.
you know.
I
But,
go with that.
I mean, all paved, because you're gonna have one house paved, one house dirt, one house weeds, one house, I mean, it's just gonna be, it's gonna look,
A disaster.
yeah,
But if they
That's
don't
the
have
bad
sidewalks, they
Well,
have to have
that's the bad part
sidewalks.
about the city owning it and not the property owner. A lot of them don't care, it's not their property, so.
so,
No, we can't.
we
do
can
that.
bring this back in 2 weeks,
Yeah.
and we'll figure something out.
out there. We'll see how many is out there, like you said.
Okay, so, we'll go ahead and,
We'll block
we'll,
that.
we'll table that one till the next one. Okay? Is there anything else?
To me, is get a survey
Yeah.
and put the sidewalk first, and then put the sidewalk in front. They can do whatever they want, but after that,
Byron, is
They're
there,
not.
do you know of any grants right now for sidewalks for small cities? Because, I mean, we need sidewalks. We do not have very many.
I'm not aware of any off the top of my mind, but it's something that I can make a note to look into.
If you could, please.
Yeah, because I know that with the governor's budget, there were a lot of monies dedicated for housing. And there may be things for safe walking routes to schools and things like that. So oftentimes if you can kind of double up on the purpose and intent of something, and there may be ways to find those available. So I'll make a note.
I pay like $160 in license tax every year.
Yeah, we're like,
And then
where does
we
our
pay.
money usually
In
go?
that case, I can put a sidewalk around my property, instead of pay the license plate to stay whenever
Well, the
I find it.
license plate, that's for the streets. That money goes directly to.
It's not for the sidewalks?
No.
No.
Street.
Okay, so Byron will look into it and he'll get back to us on that. And, okay, anybody, any more questions?
One more thing is, on South Sixth Street, in the new construction area, you might be able to answer for this question. It looks like when they were building the houses, they tore into the street and then they just left it. So who's responsible for
That's
that?
in 6.
Street
Yeah.
over
Yes.
here.
Yeah, you go
I
through
have
there.
so many complaints already because people, they complain, especially because this road's closed right now. And they go around and they have trenches like 6 or 5 inches down,
So
and everybody got damaged on the vehicle.
I did reach out to,
So those people need to push to be responsible to payment, get it done right.
yeah, I
Because
did
I
reach
did
out.
mine in 210. If you drive to my place, when I cut the house from the
You
street,
have to.
go look
Place it.
how nice it is.
So I
I
did reach
fixed
out
them
to,
myself.
the contractor, but he hasn't returned my call. Joe reached out to him last Friday as well.
Well,
He
give it a
hasn't
fine. If they not rich, give it a fine to them.
I think maybe
Yeah,
because what,
if you know
they
they
have
have a
3
bond
houses
insurance.
now there,
Or they're on their fourth one now.
so they're cutting them out as they need it. Maybe
Yeah.
he doesn't wanna
So-
fill it in till they're done, but
But
that's
you're-
not good for, I know.
I remember that when that place was supposed to go up, it was not supposed to go up one house at a time, as it is right now. It was supposed to go up all together. And,
He's doing it as he sells them.
well, this gentleman that's making this house, he's not even a contract he's doing. He bought that land to build his own house on it. So, but when that land was bought, if I'm correct, Byron, wasn't that supposed to go up as one big,
Development,
development instead of individually like it is right now?
The,
Sixth Street with,
I'm not sure. Is that the one where it's the
Southeast.
parcels right along the roadway? There's like 6 or 7 of them. So I don't know the history of that one, but so if there were requirements for improvements to be made, those would need to have been done prior to the plat being recorded and the lots being available and being created. Or if there was a bond in place for that, those improvements to be done by a certain time, you'd have to sue against the bond if those were never built out. So if it's something where there was an agreement, or if the final plat was signed prior to conditions of approval being met, that becomes something like a lawsuit to make
Sure.
the city whole again. But I don't know what that decision was. I don't know what that approval would have required. And I have seen instances where some developers can be a little pushy and get things through, where if attention isn't being paid closely, there'll be things like this happen where lots are recorded without the necessary infrastructure improvements in place.
so my understanding is he has more homes that he wants to bring in. But if he doesn't, and I think we've already went over that too, of them doing the yard, the roads, the sidewalks.
sidewalk.
And when I brought it to his attention, he's like, I'm not gonna do it. I'm
They
like,
not
well, you
even
ain't
have
gonna be building here in Mountain because it looks bad over there on
They don't,
Sixth
they don't
Street.
even have a cone or a warning inside and say there is a bump or whatever, nothing.
So-
Even a little boy, a little kid can go driving a bicycle on the street and they can trip over.
It's
So
bad.
there is.
It's bad.
So if
You can get sued right away.
if they went through the process and the developer wasn't required to do any of that, then it's something that I don't believe you would be able to make the individual developer put that infrastructure in place unless your code calls out the requirement for that. And I'd have to look into that and see.
Yeah, because it's not one, I think it's like 4.
3 or 4 cuts.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
it'd be kind of like, so in Yakima, say there's like the Terrace Estate subdivisions up in Terrace Heights. I could buy 6 lots up there and develop them, but I wouldn't be responsible for any of the road improvements or anything, because the subdivider, the developer that created the plat, should have been the one that is responsible for all of those improvements. 'Cause that's kind of how the
Mhm.
community makes sure that these areas are built to your vision of what the community is going to look like. So,
Well, could I say, it's not an improvement, it's a patch. That's where they cut the water line, water and,
It's attachments for the
Sewer.
sewer
Yeah,
or
they-
city water.
Yeah.
But the city have to put rules on, okay, when you cut, you fix it right away because there's
Yeah.
traffic.
Yeah, Joe
Don't
Joe
wait
said.
in 2 weeks or a week.
that's.
I spent only 2 days in my place when I built my house and I opened the road, only 2 days, fill it up, I payment back, nice and easy. Nobody complained right now.
so if, I think it would depend on the requirements that are in your ordinances, and your development regulations, on what the patch needs to look like. If it needs to be to a certain standard, that should be specified. And if they fail to do that, then that might be something that, I don't know if it would be the contractor that did the work or the property owner who benefits from the work being done, that would be responsible for that.
Mhm.
Ultimately, I think it'd be the property owner, but
The property owner.
because they're the ones
What kind of
that,
contract they have?
Yeah. Okay, any more questions? Okay, so we're gonna go ahead, we are not going into executive session, and we'll go ahead and adjourn this meeting at 6:40.
Thank you, Bill. We'll call you back at 7.
Okay.
Okay. So we'll take a break till 7.
Okay.